Playing double stops requires a slight change in your technique than when you're playing single notes. So in this lesson, we'll talk about how your technique changes when you're playing double stops. The first step to playing double stops is finding the balance point between the two strings. And this differs between the balance point on just a single string, right? So what I like to do is I put my bow on the two strings that I'm going to be using. And in this case, I'm going to use the G and the D string. And I just focus on finding the balance point so that I feel my hand resting on both strings at the same time. And then let's pull the bow across the string. So what I'm going to play is the G harmonic on the G string and the D harmonic on the D string. So let's do it at the same time and focus on keeping that contact and that balance point between the two strings through the whole stroke. Now let's do that same thing in an up bow, just starting in an up bow. Find that balance point and then push the bow. Now let's put them two together. So get used to feeling that balance point over the two strings before you pull the bow. And if you do that every single time when you're first practicing the double stops, then it'll really help to just get a feel for that balance sort of issue before you play any kind of double stop. Now keep in mind that you need a faster bow speed when you're playing double stops. You're pulling two strings, right? So you need a lot more momentum to get those strings to sound. Practice pulling the bow faster than you think you need to. And in general, if you're having an issue with double stops not speaking correctly, this is probably the culprit. So if you get that very timid, thin kind of sound, even crunched sound, it's probably because you're not pulling the bow fast enough, or because you're not doing that and the bow placement isn't low enough. So everything is sort of amplified with double stops, right? You need a lower bow speed, or lower bow placement, faster bow speed, and you also need more weight. So it's the same kind of deal. You're pulling two strings, so you just need more weight in order to make those two strings sound. So again, faster bow speed than you think you need to, probably, a lower bow placement, and more weight. So rest that bow into the string as you find that balance point and then pull. So now let's practice the difference between playing single notes versus double stops by doing a transition between the two. So we're going to play D with first finger on the G string, fourth finger on E, and then shift up to the G and the D harmonic on the G and the D string. If this is a little bit too tricky for you in the left hand, you can also do the G harmonic with your third finger and then open D, or just open D and G along with that D to E. Or whatever's easiest for you. It all works exactly the same way. So what we're going to do is we're going to transition between single notes, and as you go up to that harmonic or whatever note that you're going to be playing in the double stop, you're going to lower your bow ever so slightly so that you rest on the balance point between the two strings. So you're going between the balance point of the G string when you're playing those single notes, and then as you shift up or go wherever it is you're going for the double stop, you lower the bow so that you hit the balance point between these two strings and then pull. So the balance point changes first. And then the next step is to focus on the bow speed and the bow weight. So the bow speed gets faster, much faster, and then the weight also increases. So you're thinking about a lot at once, right? As you shift up, you're thinking about that balance point, pulling the bow faster and increasing the weight. So now let's switch the bow direction. We're going to start with an up bow and do up, down, up. And then this is a little bit trickier with doing a a double stop on an up bow, right? But you just have to focus on the same things that we've been focusing on already. Faster bow speed and more weight, and also the balance points, and you'll be great. In general, I find that people have a more difficult time pushing in a fast bow speed on the up bow. So make sure you're focusing on going faster than you think you need to, and again, increasing that weight. So again, the key points to remember here are the faster bow speed on the double stops, faster bow speed, lower placement, and increased weight. And when you're transitioning between single notes and double stops, as you so often will in music, you want to make a difference between the balance point on the single note, the bow speed on the single note, and the bow weight on the single note, as opposed to everything pretty much increasing as you get to that double stop. When you're first working on double stops, I would take something that's a little bit easier in the left hand, like open strings or the two harmonics that we used. And as you get better at playing double stops, you can switch up the intervals and add a little bit of a challenge in your left hand.